Walther is well known for its semi-automatic pistols, PPK, PPKS, and especially for the PDP line of pistols. Today, I am taking a look at one of the lesser-known pistols from Walther, P22. So stay tuned and learn all about one. The Walther P22 is a semi-automatic pistol chambered for 5.59mm caliber ammunition, or as we know it, the .22 long rifle. Manufactured by Carl Walther, it was introduced in 2002 and has become very popular among shooting sports. It is distributed by the American gun company Walther America, associated with Smith & Wesson. The Walther P22 was one of the original semi-automatic .22 long rifle handguns, of which the latest generation is now called the P22Q, and comes in a plethora of colors and variants. This model is, however, the standard model, and I'll begin this journey with the basic specifications. While it is claimed that Ruger's SR-22 is simply a copy of the P-22, I have to disagree somewhat, because there are enough differences between the two to warrant that the Walther P-22 stands on its own merits. So, let me dig in, and if there are likenesses with the Ruger SR-22, I'll mention those as well. The Walther P22, or as I will call it from here on, the P22, is a blowback operated pistol, in that it has a fixed barrel and relies on the recoil characteristics to cycle the slide and perform all of the operations associated with doing that, like shell extraction, ejection, and reloading a new cartridge if one is in the magazine. If a cartridge is not available in the magazine, the slide locks back on the empty magazine. Also, without the magazine inserted, P22 will not fire when in battery. In fact, the trigger is fully disconnected in both double action and single action modes. With the magazine removed, the thumb decocking safety will still work with the slide in battery and will decock the hammer when in single action hammer cocked mode. I'll talk more about the thumb safety later. The slide is very nicely treated with a silver finish and incorporates both front and rear serrations for easy manipulation of the slide. Walther is nicely billboarded on each side of the slide, smack dab in the middle of the front serrations, while P22 adorns the slide amidship, while manufacturer's information resides on the right side of the slide just below the substantial ejection port. The front of the slide is nicely beveled, while the top of the slide is serrated to cut glare. As far as sights go, the front white dot sight is interchangeable for elevation adjustment, and the rear 2 white dot sight is adjustable for windage by turning the rear sight screw clockwise if the weapon fires to the right, or turn it counterclockwise if the weapon fires to the left. The ejection port is substantial, while an external extractor is tasked with the job of removing cartridges, spin or not, from the chamber, where ejection is performed internally. Note that the extractor and ejector seem to do their jobs well. With reference to the Ruger SR22, the manual decocking thumb safety on the P22 is integrated into the slide rather than in the frame, as with the SR22. Personally, I find the thumb decocking safety easier to manipulate with the P22 over that of the SR22. One interesting thing to note is that although the pistol is decocked and the thumb safety is in the down decocked position, the hammer can be cocked and released by pulling the trigger. However, when the pistol is decocked, the hammer is prevented from reaching the firing pin by a block. However, the hammer cannot be manually cocked. I find, at least for me, that it is easier to disengage the thumb safety, move it into the up fire position with the forefinger of the sport hand, rather than with the thumb of the shooting hand, which requires a serious shift in grip position. The thumb decocking safety is ambidextrous for those left-handed shooters who need a right side safety lever. The thumb decocking safety lever does take some effort to move into the decocked or fire position, which reduces the chance of inadvertently moving the safety lever in either position. The hammer is a serrated and royal combat type of hammer that, and if the pistol is properly supported, can be placed in the cock position from its rest position. I'll get into that in the maintenance segment. It's time to turn my attention to the frame. The frame is, of course, polymer and highly sculptured. The front of the frame incorporates a 3-point mounting accessory rail for those who like to mount a flashlight, laser, or combination of. To the rear of the accessory rail is the takedown lever, which does differ from that found on the Ruger SR22. With the Ruger SR22, the takedown lever is pulled down from one side of the frame, the left side. With the P22, the takedown mechanism is more Glock-like, and that it must be pulled or pushed down on both sides. I get into that also in the maintenance segment. You will find the serial number of the pistol on the right rear of the frame. The front of the trigger guard is serrated and also incorporates a very nice lip at the bottom to hold the sport hand forefinger of those who like to use the front of the trigger guard. The one thing to really take notice of is the magazine release lever. That is so nicely integrated into the trigger guard. If you are not used to that, it takes a little learning to get used to it. You will see me go for a side button magazine release instead of the lever during the range session on several occasions. If I carried an early Walther PDP, I would be used to it due to training myself with it. Now, the new PDP series are all side button mag release actuated, but for the P22 and P22Q series of pistols, the integrated magazine release lever remains just that, a lever. A brief mention of the slide lock lever is that it is left side only on the P22 and is angled outward to accommodate easy operation for releasing the slide or locking the slide back. And speaking of moving the slide to the rear, the slide-mounted thumb safety decocking lever can assist with doing so, especially when it is in the up fire mode, when pulling the slide back from the rear of the slide. I would not advocate pushing the slide to the rear with the thumb safety off safe. Let me get my hand around the grip. The grip is nicely textured, but mild in nature. One does not need an aggressive grip on a .22 caliber pistol, but it is not the texture, but the grip dimensions and angle that really are important. The grip just fits the hand very well, where one can get that fleshy part of the hand up close and tight with the extended rear of the frame, right where it needs to be. There are 2 grip adapters provided with the P22, the largest of which is mounted, and which places that hump right into the palm of my hand, which suits me just fine. A small finger swell on the grip rolls into a front finger groove that guides the index finger right into place around the grip. The grip's girth is small, and there is not a lot of real estate for the sport hand to involve itself while supporting the pistol. But really not a lot of support is needed on this pistol. Without a magazine installed, the grip length is long enough not to accommodate my little finger. With the magazine installed, the front lip of the magazine base keeps my pinky from hanging loose. For hands smaller than mine, grip length with magazines installed should be just fine. And speaking of magazines, the steel magazines can be disassembled for maintenance. A load assist button is integrated into the magazine to make it easier to stuff 10 rounds into them. When new, pushing the load assist button reveals a rough interior, so I disassembled the 2 that I have, coated the interior with a light film of slicky stuff to, slicken them up a bit. Now, I know that you have been saying, when is he going to get to the trigger? I don't much blame you. So, here I go. The trigger is a highly curved affair, rounded and serrated to help keep the trigger finger in place during the violent amount of recoil that the .22 caliber pistols are known for. Okay, I am being a bit facetious. The rated trigger pull weights are shown. The measured trigger pull weights with a 5-pull average came in at what is shown. Why the measured trigger pull weight is about half of the rated trigger pull weight, I can't answer. Maybe that this particular pistol is broken in. I don't know. But I do know is how the trigger feels when pulled. In double action mode, there is a slight amount of free play until resistance is felt. From that point, there is a long distance to travel before the hammer drops, but that could be a good thing. The trigger does have some stacking, and toward the end of its travel, it can be staged, although no staging point can be felt, only the starting point when the stacking takes place. I was able to hold the trigger at this point and double check my sight alignment before taking a shot, or if I desired not to take the shot, simply just relax my trigger finger. Since this pistol does have double strike capabilities, if a .22 long rifle cartridge fails to fire, not that it never happens with rimfire firearms, the trigger can be pulled to try again. If the round does not fire after that, corrective action may be needed. With that said, don't be too quick with that corrective action, as a hangfire could be a possibility. Give the pistol a second or two before racking in a fresh round. Some say it takes 10 seconds. I leave that up to you. Just keep the firearm pointed in a safe direction while waiting. The single action trigger response is actually quite surprising. With some DASA pistols, the trigger reset can be quite long, sometimes all the way forward, where it takes plenty of free trigger travel before resistance is felt. Not so with its P22. Trigger reset with the P22 is very close to the push point where the fun part happens. The hammer drops. In short, that's where the trigger reset point is in SA mode. Short. Hammer break is crisp, but the trigger is a bit mushy before the hammer reaches that point. There is a slight hint of trigger over travel after the hammer falls. Not enough to be bothersome, but it is there. Besides, P22 is not a tactical precision instrument. It's a plinker, and maybe an occasional dispatcher of bothersome small furry critters, woodland or otherwise. Okay, did I cover the features to your satisfaction? How about you there on the right talking into a cell phone? You good? Okay, let's talk maintenance. Safety before maintenance. But you knew that already, right? Once the safety check has been performed, we can begin maintaining the P22. First by disassembling it, at least as far as we need to, for maintenance. Since the slide should already be locked back from the safety check, and with the magazine removed, all we have to do is release the takedown lever to begin disassembly. I have found it to be easy to release the takedown lever by having the pistol upside down, both my thumbs on the bottom of the trigger guard, and then using the fingernail of both forefingers in the takedown lever grooves to pull the takedown lever upward from the frame. Turn the pistol right side up, and while supporting both the frame and slide, press the slide lock down to release the slide and slowly allow it to go all the way forward on the frame. Pull the slide all the way to the rear until it stops, and then lift the rear of the slide up and off of the frame. While holding the slide, allow the slide to go forward until it clears the barrel. Note that the recoil spring and guide is a captive unit. The recoil spring and guide may fall out into your hands or remain in its channel within the frame, depending on how you hold the pistol when removing the slide. You now will have 3 separate sub-assemblies: slide, recoil spring and guide, and the frame. This is as far as you need to go for normal cleaning, inspection, and lubrication. All that you have to do then is, according to Walther,
clean foul parts of breech, magazine lips, follower and receiver with a brush and a cloth. Clean the barrel with an oil-soaked brush, and then dry it with cleaning patches. Always begin at the chamber. Repeat these steps until barrel is clean. Apply a thin coat of oil to all metal parts. Reassemble gun and check for proper function.
To begin reassembling the P22, ensure that the hammer is still cocked. It should not have been uncocked during the cleaning. Install the captivated recoil spring and guide into the recess for it in the frame. Ensure that the metal end, the end with the Phillips head screw of the recoil spring and guide, is inserted into the frame. The plastic end of the guide rod is toward the muzzle of the barrel. Place the inside of the barrel shroud over the recoil spring and guide so that the plastic end of the recoil guide is within the shroud cup. Position the slide over the frame and pull the slide all the way to the rear until it stops. The recoil spring and guide will be under full tension at this point. Press the rear of the slide down to compress the hammer and fully against the frame. Slowly allow the slide to go forward. Push the takedown lever into the frame. Ensure that it is seated firmly. Leave the slide in the rear position because at this point you will need to perform a function check. Note that there is no information from Walther regarding dry firing the P22. With that said, I would advise using a snap cap or 3 for function testing, both to prevent damage to the firing pin or breech face and for checking extraction and ejection. Install 3 snap caps or equivalent sized drywall anchors into the magazine. Insert the magazine into the pistol. Use the slide lock lever to release the slide. The slide should go forward into full battery. Decock the pistol. Push down on the safety decocking lever. The hammer will fall forward to the safety position. The pistol is now in double action mode. Pull the trigger. The hammer will cock and release as the trigger reaches the end of its travel. The hammer, however, stops at the safety block. To test this, rack the slide rearward to extract and eject the first snap cap. Allow the slide to move forward into battery, thus chambering the next snap cap. Inspect the rear of the extracted snap cap. There should be no indentation on the rear of the case, indicating that the firing pin is not striking the case. Place the safety decocking lever in the up fire position. Pull the trigger fully to the rear. The hammer will fall. However, this time the firing pin will strike the case of the snap cap. Once again, fully rack the slide to the rear and release to extract and eject the snap cap and chamber the last snap cap. Push the safety decocking lever down to the decock position. The hammer will decock. Pull the hammer to the rear. The hammer will not cock. Slowly lower the hammer. Place the safety decock lever up to the up fire position. Pull the hammer to the rear. The hammer should remain cocked and remain to the rear, placing the pistol in the single action mode. Pull the trigger. The hammer will fall all the way forward. For the last time, pull the slide fully rearward. The last snap cap should be extracted and ejected, and the slide should lock back automatically. Inspect the rear of the snap cap to ensure that the firing pin did indeed impact the rear of the case. Remove the magazine from the pistol. While supporting the slide, use the slide lock to release the slide and allow the slide to go slowly forward into battery. Pull the trigger. Without the magazine in the pistol, the trigger free floats and will not cock the hammer in double action mode, nor release the hammer, if cocked, in single action mode. Press the safety decocking lever to decock the hammer. This completes the routine maintenance of the Walther P22. Note that I did not include barrel removal. The barrel can be cleaned from the breech end while installed in the frame. Unless you absolutely need to remove the barrel, say for replacement, I would advise against doing so. From here, all I can say is stay tuned, because now that the P22 has had proper maintenance performed on it, it would only make sense to dirty it up again by taking it to the range. Things I do to keep myself entertained.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
To tell the truth, I had high expectations from the P22 at the range. The Ruger SR22 ran without failure, and I was expecting the same from the P22. I was using the same ammunition that I used for the SR22. Federal Target Grade Performance 40 grain solid round nose. CCI Standard Velocity 40 grain 22 LR. And CCI Minimag 40 grain copper-plated round nose. While I am not going to do a shootout between the Walther P22 and the Ruger SR22 today. That's not to say that it won't happen, just not today. So, let's pick up on the shooting part, see how things are going to go. As with many .22 caliber pistols in the marketplace, there is a copious amount of holsters for the P22 and P22Q models, and they are inexpensive and make the P22 safe to carry. So there should be no excuse for not carrying the P22 for a woods walk or whatever. Do your research and choose one or two that best fits your carry needs. Now, on to my final thoughts regarding the Walther P22. To sum up this review of the Walther P22, I must say that although the P22 is an excellent looking pistol, has a good set of sights, a very good trigger, and an excellent ergonomically designed grip, its performance at the range left me questioning the value of the P22 over many of the .22 caliber pistols in the marketplace. With its propensity to not perform with the ammunition that I selected, which was very popular ammunition to be thrown out of a .22 caliber handgun or long gun, leads me to the conclusion that I would not recommend the pistol, even at the MSRP of right at $300. Price of admission, to me, is not worth the show, at least the show that I experienced. It may be just that the P22 is ammunition sensitive, something that I have experienced with other .22 caliber firearms. If you own a P22, let me know of your experiences with it. I don't like leaving a review on a negative note, so I won't. If you desire a .22 pistol that you can throw in a cargo pants pocket, with a suitable holster of course, or use for whatever reason you would like to use a 10-round .22 caliber pistol, and have found suitable ammunition to run through it, then you just might like P22. With that, I'm going to end this chapter in the Range Ronin Chronicles, with the hope that I see you again in the near future. And, until that time, take care of yourself, and be vigilant, armed, and safe out there